Hi, friends. Welcome to Lotus in the Light. My name is Jennifer. Thanks for joining. Um, I have an interesting experience that I want to share about the integration of a new belief over the last 24 hours. And it's really been, something that has been working through me for years, but I finally feel like I have found a newer, deeper truth that has freed me from some bondage. And I really want to share this experience with you because if you found this video, I believe that there's a message in here for you as well. So take a few deep breaths, open yourself up as a channel for God or your higher consciousness to come through and enjoy this little story of mine. So this has to do with me as a mother and as a grandmother. Um, I do not, and I have never really conformed to the traditional ideas of what mom and now grandma are, um, in the sense that, in my own belief systems, at least what I had been taught. And I don't know why I had these belief systems, because honestly, my mom didn't fit that tradition, and I don't believe her mom fit that tradition either. But so maybe this is a generational trauma, that a burden that we all were carrying, and I feel like I'm finally healing and releasing that. So I'm really excited about this. I remember years ago when I was active in the Christian church, there were, some friends of mine who were just awesome, in my eyes, awesome moms. They just loved to be with their kids. They loved to get down on the floor and play with their kids and really engage with them. They had crazy patience, like never raised their voice, never lost their cool. Those kind of moms that like, and you knew it was coming from somewhere authentic. It wasn't them putting on a show. Like this is just who they were. They were meant to be mothers. And then there's me, who I loved my kids. I adored my kids. I enjoyed my time with them, but um, I was not as actively engaged. Like I would get down on the floor and play with my kids, but like that wasn't now I will say it this way, now that I have a new perspective on life. It wasn't always my highest joy. Sometimes I was really enjoying it, and sometimes I'm just like, okay, you go play. I'm going to be an adult over here because that's what I enjoy doing, is being an adult. And so there was always this tug of war inside of me of like, am I being the best mother I can be? I never wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I always wanted to work. And so that came with some guilt and some shame about like, there was no shame in doing it because we needed to do it. That was, what we needed to do to survive. We felt, we were living in that survival mode, but always also, I wanted to do it. And so that's the part that came with some shame. So anyway, I, let's see, I don't know how many years ago it's been now. At one point when my youngest son graduated high school, my husband and I decided to move to Florida. I'd always wanted to be somewhere warmer. But what I realized when I got to Florida is that actually, I don't even know that I realized it to a degree, but I really like realized it and acknowledged it when we moved back to Ohio. Um, and it was that part of the reason that I moved, because I felt like the further away I was from my kids, like the less damage I could do, because their expectations of like how often I could be there for them would have to be lower because I'm states away, right? So if I wasn't there for my kids every day or every other day or whatever, like there could be no guilt for that or no shame for that because they were further away. And so I had all these ideas in my mind about what kind of mother I should be and could be. And getting out of Ohio freed me from that. And that's what I was looking for. And that's what I needed. Although I wasn't fully aware of that, but that was ultimately a driving emotional motivator for me. And I didn't really fully realize that until I came back to Ohio. We came back because when we left, we had no grandkids. We came back because I was starting a business and I didn't want to be far away and then not have the time or the money or the ability to come home and visit. So we thought, let's just launch the business here so we can be around them more. But then what happened then is coming back to Ohio now brings back all these emotions now, not only about what it means to be a good mom, but what it means to be a good grandma. But because I was immersed in this business startup, and then that business ultimately never really got off the ground. So then I go back to full-time work. That always created some boundaries for me, and that like I'm working full-time. I can't be the grandma who takes the kids 3 days a week and da 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 da. That's never going to be me because I work full-time, right? Now, I have left my company. I'm following my highest joy. I'm still there in a part-time capacity, but that certainly frees up more of my time. My time being freed up, from my perspective, is for me to live my soul's bucket list. That's the purpose. The idea is that to bring healing to this world, we need to be more authentically ourselves. And the way to figure out who that is, because we have been so molded and so conformed by the patterns of this world that most of us really, we don't even know who we are. I'm still discovering every day a little bit more about who I really, really, really am at a deep, authentic level. And so, as I figure that out, the way that I figure that out is by following my highest joy in any moment. And it's literally a moment by moment thing. I get up in the morning. What do I want to do? Most of the time I want to meditate. I meditate. What do I want to do now? Or who do I want to be? It's not always about doing. Sometimes it's about just sitting in the silence, going outside and sticking my feet in the grass and enjoying nature. So it's not always about doing per se, but like, what is the next thing that's going to bring me joy in this moment? So that's the purpose and intent behind leaving this full-time job, is that it wasn't my highest joy. And so now there's this tug of war within me, and it's playing out in these experiences where uh, these moments are happening to me where sometimes it's, my kids need me and need my help. Sometimes it's my grandkids reaching out to me. Sometimes it's me reaching out to them because there's something that I'm like, oh, they would enjoy that. We should go do that. Or, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit of everything. But what it's showing me is that sometimes I'm being drawn into experiences that aren't my highest joy in the moment, and I know it. But my beliefs about being a mom and being a grandma, and more, let me say it more specifically, about being a good mom and being a good grandma, are drawing me into these circumstances, and I know it. I'm completely aware of it. So now I'm making choices that are not my highest joy, and that's what it's showing me, right? Have a little negative feeling about it because I know it's not my highest joy and I'm choosing it anyway. And instead of being angry about it, so for example, one of the scenarios came up yesterday that my husband invited my granddaughter into this experience that I really just wanted for myself and maybe him. I invited him along with me. But I did not need to be mad at him because there's no need, nothing happens to us, right? Everything is happening for us. And so him inviting my granddaughter into that experience, and he was doing it because our daughter was sick, and he was like, hey, why don't we take her off your hands? What's funny is I knew she was sick hours ago, hours before. It didn't even occur to me to offer to take my granddaughter in, but she didn't ask. Like she was telling me that she wasn't feeling good, but she was telling me for another reason, and so she didn't ask. So it didn't even occur to me. So some people would say, "Oh, well, a good mother would say, well, how can I help you? What can?" And I'm of the belief that like if you need help, ask me. So I'm not mad at anyone about it. He obviously was, um, wanted to do that for her, and so he offered. That doesn't require me to be a part of that. That was his offering. I could have went on and did my own thing. I could have said thank you, but no thank you. I'm going to go over and do this thing. But I have this sense that like every time he wants to be with the grandkids, I should also want to be with the grandkids. And if I don't, then I'm not a good grandma. And so that has really been weighing on me the last few weeks as we've been venturing into this new season of my life where I do have more time on my hands. And I love this because I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When we have a negative feeling about something, it's because we have a desire for something in our life. And spirit says, okay, God is unbiased about it. God's like, okay, if that's what you want, great. Let me show you what's standing between you and that thing. There's a reason you don't have it now. We are divine creators, and we do actually have the power within us to immediately manifest the things that we want. When we don't immediately manifest something, and usually we don't, it's because there's some belief system standing between us and that thing. And so our higher consciousness is saying, yes, we want to help you get this thing that you want. We want to help you achieve this thing that you want, whether it's more peace or more adventure in your life or a new job or, whatever it is on the external comes down to a feeling. If it's a new job you want, if it's a new relationship you want, if it's a new home that you want, all of those things are really just distilling down to a feeling that you are trying to achieve. And spirit is like, yes, we want to help you achieve this feeling too, but right now you've got this big block in the way. So now what spirit's going to do is keep bringing you're going to keep attracting, actually. It's your own attention to what you want. You're like, I want this thing and I don't have it. And it's that energetic attraction that's going to keep drawing you to the thing that's going to keep also drawing you to the thing that's between you and the thing, right? And so you keep attracting these experiences and these relationships that are helping you see what the hurdle is, and so that you can heal it. This is all just a healing journey. The earth journey is just all about experience and learning and expanding. And we learn and expand usually through a healing process because most of us have a lot of um, trauma within our bodies, ancestral trauma, past life trauma, if you believe in past lives. But if not, we already know scientifically that trauma from our ancestors does carry into our DNA. It is proven. So we carry a lot of that with us, plus trauma from our own childhood. And sometimes it's not trauma as much as just beliefs that don't serve us. Like we learn as a child how to squelch what we want and be quiet because what we want doesn't matter. Right? That's maybe not a trauma, but it is a belief system that becomes then a barrier between you and what you want because you've already taught yourself that what you want doesn't matter. Okay, so all of this stuff is stuff that we can work through and heal and move on from and release, but it takes time. And what's interesting is I know all of these things. I talk about them in my videos all the time. Especially what I'm about to share, but I didn't even really see that it was happening in the situation. So I thought I had kind of released the need to be a good mom a while ago, or I don't know, I felt like I released something about it. I just kind of released this like idea that like I have to meet somebody else's standards, right? I thought I had, but clearly I'm being shown that nope, you haven't. So now it's reemerging for me. And now I am working through that. And so all day yesterday, I kept thinking to not all day, but all evening yesterday, I kept thinking, what is it? Why, what does make a good grandma? What does make a good mom? How do I check that box of being a good, like we all have archetypes that we fall into. We have these, we came into this earth experiences to experience motherhood, brotherhood, sisterhood, being a son, being a friend, being a boss, being an employee, it's different for all of us. Um, um, what we chose, but we came here to experience those things and experience them for a reason. And these are archetypes that help shape who we are, and they help shape who we are. And I say shape who we are. They're really what they're really doing is society has an idea of what these archetypes should look like, and then we contort ourselves to fit into that shape because it's like, oh, I'm a mother, I'm supposed to love getting on the floor with my kids and playing with them or my grandkids or whatever, right? And we contort, we try to squeeze ourselves into these costumes that don't actually fit, and we start putting on all the makeup, the stage makeup to look like somebody who we're not. And the more we can shed and release that, the better off we are. So here I am trying to think of like, what does it mean to be a good mom and a good grandma? I was specifically thinking a good grandma. So I started thinking about my grandparents. Now I have two grandmas, or I had two grandmas, not counting my greats, right? My two grandmas. But one of them came into my life when I was 8, when my mom married my dad. So before that, I had my one grandma. Now I remember thinking as an 8-year old, a 9-year old, 10-year old, whatever, that my newer grandma, we'll call her, I didn't care for her as much as a grandma. I remember thinking like grandmas are supposed to be fat and jolly. That sounds terrible, but that's what I thought because my grandma Cooper was fat and jolly. Like she was heavier set and she always laughing, cigarette out of her hand, chit chat, talking, whatever, laughing. But she, you know what, she wasn't. She wasn't the grandma who was sitting on the floor playing with me. She never got down at my level and engaged. Yeah, I thought she was a great grandma. She was fun and she was funny and she was always laughing and cutting up, but it wasn't with me and the kids. It was with her sister, with her kids, with her husband, with her friends. You know what I'm saying? But her essence, her joy was contagious. And I sensed that and I picked up on that. But also she was known, right? I had been with her since I was an infant, since I was born. In fact, I lived with her some of my life. Whereas this other grandma was a new grandma to me and she just wasn't known. There was nothing inherently. Okay, there we go. There was nothing inherently, excuse me, there was nothing inherently bad about this grandma, or nothing inherently good about this grandma. It was just that this one was known. She was comfortable. She was safe. I felt protected. Now, in the one way she did, I felt comforted. And in the one way that she would do that is, if I were tired at bedtime or if I were sick, I would lay with my head in her lap and she would rub my ear and she would do that. But she was doing that while she was smoking her cigarette and watching TV and chit chatting with, whoever's else is in the room. It wasn't this undivided attention. It was just her presence that made her a good grandma to me. And I even think about what my husband, when he talks about his grandma, and it's a similar situation. It was less about how they engaged and more about their presence. And so I started realizing like, I don't think being a good grandma is what I've been thinking that it is. This like get down on the floor and play and engage. Sometimes I don't enjoy being with my grandkids because they want my constant attention. Constant. So if I'm watching them for 1 hour or for 5 hours, they're in my face the whole time. And so I have had to learn how to create some boundaries and say, okay, Yaya's taking a break for a few minutes. Okay. But there's still that pressure to re-engage, always that pressure. That's not their fault. They're just being a kid trying to get the attention they want, right? That's a me issue, and it's not an issue. It's an opportunity for growth and for learning about what it is to be a good grandma. But here's the real nugget that I got last night. So I lay down in bed. I was thinking about these things about my grandparents and what made them good and so on and so forth. And I came to this conclusion that like good doesn't mean what I've been the what I've been applying to it, right? The meaning I've been applying to it. It can be different than what I don't need to be guilting myself. And I can come back into more of an authentic me and just be me. Like my grandma was just authentically herself. She wasn't trying to put on any front for me, right? And that authenticity translates, and it's attractive. And so I just need to do that and be that, not do anything. I need to be that, right? I need to be authentic. And so I'm laying there thinking, okay, now I have a better handle on what it is to be a good grandparent. Then my mind starts to soften. I'm not thinking as much anymore. And I'm starting to get into that lull of right before you fall asleep. That's one of those times when we get out of our beta brain, and quiet the loud noise, and the still small voice of spirit is able to communicate and get through to us. And so sure enough, in that moment, that's when spirit showed me it's not about being a good grandma. Good or bad is just a judgment. These are all things I already know. I say them all the time on my videos, and I wasn't even applying it to my own life. Good or bad is a judgment. It is just a meaning that's being applied by someone else to that relationship. And I don't just mean a people relationship. It could be your relationship with money. It could be your relationship with food. It could be your relationship with a person. But I'm applying this meaning. But the reality is, and I say it all the time, everything in life is meaningless. It's our job to give it meaning, and we give it meaning based on our beliefs. So here's what I feel that spirit revealed to me last night, right before I fell asleep. And the other thing I say all the time too is keep your eyes on your own paper. So me being a good grandma, this is really a relationship that I'm in with each of my grandkids individually. And the relationship is meaningless until we apply meaning to it. And so whatever adjective they want to apply to me as a grandma, good grandma, bad grandma, fun grandma, boring grandma, okay grandma, whatever, that's their assessment that's on their paper. And that assessment is meeting them exactly where they are. So they have their own life's journey, even though they're small, tiny children and they're not adults yet. They're not thinking like this yet. This life is their journey. They're having their own experiences, and I am meeting them on their journey in the way that they need. Even if that means they view me as a bad grandma, it's because they have some things that they're working through that make who I authentically am, it might rub them the wrong way, right? And they might say, I don't like this. I don't want to be around this. Now, fortunately for me, I don't think any of my grandkids think I'm a bad grandma. I am glad about that. But like, if they did, and they may get to a point, those teen years are a perfect example where like you butt heads, especially with parents, maybe more than grandparents, you don't like them, right? It's because of things that you're going through in your journey. And that adjective doesn't define me. That is the assignment on their paper, and I need to keep my eyes on my paper. My paper is how am I applying meaning to this relationship? And if I'm following my highest joy, I'm engaging in a way that's authentically me, meaning how I want to engage, when I want to engage. And when I'm doing that and I'm following my joy should be contagious, because just like my grandma, right? It's the energy that I'm emitting. And so if I'm coming to them from a place of joy, and only coming to them when I'm in a place of joy, right? Or in a joy might not always be the right word, but when I'm in a place of joy, peace, appreciation is a good word. When I'm coming to them from a place of appreciation and appreciation for our relationship, then hopefully they have only positive experiences. But even if they don't, that's their paper, that's their assignment, that's their journey. I need to keep my eyes on my paper. And if we can all start to do that a little bit more and give ourselves permission to just be ourselves, even if somebody else doesn't perceive that to be good, just say, okay, if you don't think that's good, that's okay. We don't have to be this on an equal vibe all the time, meaning we don't have to enjoy each other's company all the time. We can agree that like you're not for me this season of my life, or I'm not for you this season of my life, right? So it's like, it's okay. Just let it be what it is and move on, right? And so, wow, what a wake up. Because again, everything I just said was nothing that was new to me. I just hadn't fully integrated it. And I'm glad that I'm a living example of this, because I have talked about this integration before as well in previous videos, where sometimes we're introduced to a new idea or new belief or new thought. And when we're introduced to it, like anytime we're introduced to a new belief, we're either like, no, I don't agree with that. Totally. Okay, fine. Then move on, right? If you're reading a book and you don't agree, if you're watching a program and you don't agree, whatever, like, okay, you don't like it. It doesn't sit with you, move on. But oftentimes we're introduced to these ideas that we're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Like we have these awakening moments in our lives where we wake up to some new truth, that we're like, yes, that makes total, and you just know it just sits right with you, right? So then we think, oh, wow, that really like freed me from this other belief that was kind of not for it wasn't serving me and it was holding me down and holding me back. And now I realize that, oh, I don't need to try or strive to be a good grandma. I just need to be me to my grandkids. And that's going to foster something special and sweet. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. That's okay. Just let those, sometimes the relationships are in our life for a reason that do like rub up against us because they're there to kind of show us something about ourselves. And once we learn and grow from that, often that relationship falls away because it's served its purpose and it's no longer beneficial to you and it's no longer beneficial to them. And we've agreed and arranged ahead of this life that we're going to be that for each other in this life. One of my kids, I swear, one of my kids, if I had to guess, we are probably like soulmates that have such a deep love for each other that we said, we're going to come into this life together and we are going to be the grit for each other. We're going to go head to head, not head to head in fighting. We don't really fight per se, but like our relationship can be stressful. It doesn't always feel good. Um, and I think we chose to be that for each other because iron sharpens iron. And at a soul level, we are all iron. And we said, let's go into this and be the grit for each other to help each other grow and expand. And so I believe that. I'm grateful for that. And I love them for that. But it doesn't always make it easy. And so, but being able to accept that without judgment and just say, that's what it is. And it's great. And as long as that works, it works. And if it gets better and healthier and more beautiful, great. And if it doesn't and it falls away because we've served each other in the way we need to serve each other, okay. Like, can you believe that? As a mother, I'm saying that if a relationship with my child falls away, it's okay. But I mean that. Like, that truly might be what's supposed to happen when we, like I say, it's like chewing gum. Take every experience and every relationship you have in your life and chew every last bit of juicy goodness out of it. And when it's no longer flavorful and no longer serving your highest good, it's time to get rid of that gum and maybe get a new piece of gum or maybe have no gum. But you see what I'm saying? Like that's, and it sounds like I'm cheapening relationships in this life, but I'm not. I'm actually giving it value where it has value and acknowledging that not every relationship needs to serve us for our entire life. Not every relationship needs to, um, uh, what am I trying to say? Not every relationship needs to serve us our entire life, and not every relationship needs to look the same to be healthy or what we need. We just need to accept it for what it is and let it play out. Okay, I think I've said what needs to be said. I hope this message resonated for you because it feels so awesome to share this. Like me speaking it in this video is allowing me to totally verbally process everything. So it's good for me, but I know that as I create it, and put it out there, it's also good for someone else. So I'm so excited for whoever finds this and however it might serve you. Do I want to close with a card? I think I do because um, Sacred Rebels was my first deck that I ever bought. I went to the store with the intention of buying a tarot deck. Um, Not that I really know much about tarot, but this deck so called out to me, and it specifically was calling out from my mother. It felt like it's called Sacred Rebels Oracle, and it felt like my mom had guided me to this deck. Um, so I feel like because we're talking about what it means to be a mother, what it means to be a grandmother, this feels like the deck that's calling to me. So let's just see what card pops out here. Oh, there it is. The card that pops out is Diving for Light. Ooh, I love this. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we got an 11. Okay, 11 is the master number for who you are. This is all about you, who you are within, and allowing that. This diving for light is about her going within and figuring out who she is, peeling back all the layers of that we've placed on ourselves and allowing our divine nature within to emerge. Really keeping focus on our own paper and not worrying about anyone else's paper and really digging into like this life assignment, this earth assignment of who am I? And when we dive in and start peeling back the layers of the onion, there can be some painful processes in that. It can disrupt some relationships. It can disrupt what those relationships mean to us. And again, whatever meaning we apply can bring us more joy or bring us more suffering in this life. We get to choose whether we learn on a path of love or learn on a path of fear. And fear definitely brings the suffering. And I was sitting in a lot of fear about what it meant to be a good parent or grandparent. And it's really funny because there's some ways that my kids, even before they had kids, knew that like I'm not a super baby. Like I like infants when you could just hold them and then put them down and whatever. But once they get to like toddler age, it's really not my jam until they become like older and they start having their own intelligent conversations and stuff like that, like especially teenagers, but like 8 up, I would say. And my kids already knew that about me. So because of that expectation, I was comfortable with the fact that like I wasn't engaging as much with the toddler age, the 2, 3, 4, 5, like this age where most of my grandkids are now. Like I knew that they didn't expect me to be like the grandma that wanted to have them every Saturday. That was never going to be me. And they knew that. And I was comfortable with that because I knew that they knew that. But you see there what was happening? My piece about it was reliant on their piece about it. That is problematic. That is problematic. I need to be comfortable with who I am, regardless of what anybody else thinks about it. And so do you. That's the opportunity. And so then when I started having more free time, then I started feeling more pressure to want to be with them more. And if I didn't want to be with them more, I was feeling now I'm like, what are my kids going to think about this? What are not just my kids, people, but mostly my kids, the people whose opinions you respect, right? What are they going to think about this, about what kind of grandma I am now, right? Okay. So let's read about this. Hmm. Okay. Want to read it? A little bit of it. These tend to be long, so I'll pick and choose some spots. How brave you are. You are diving for light. It can be so much simpler to seek light in the heavenly, in that which is blissful, sweet, loving, and kind. To look for the light in that which is dark is an advanced task that only a rebellious and brave heart will attempt. You may not feel that you have taken such a journey by choice, yet you have taken this wise challenge on from deep within your soul. Your innermost being has evoked this situation in your life with intention that you grow in power, wisdom, and creative juice. This is like making me tear up because it's exactly what happened. I knew this situation came out of the darkness to teach me so that I could grow. It also wants you to experience a bold and fearless trust in life and become further empowered to live it with zest and courage. The oracle of diving for light speaks of a time when you are called into darkness through life circumstances, situations, relationship challenges, or inner struggles that defy clear understanding. The darkness might be a creative block, a sense of being in a void, or feelings of depression, rage, sadness, fear, or anxiety. There may or may not be an obvious cause. The darkness might be generally accepted and socially acknowledged because there is a socially acceptable or obvious reason for it, such as death or divorce or retrenchment. However, there may be no obvious justification for your experience of darkness. So for me, it was obvious, but maybe for some of you listening, it is not. You might not need a reason to be able to accept it. Likewise, you may struggle to find an unconditional acceptance of your experience. Just know that you're actually on track and right where you need to be. Our creative process and our spiritual path go through a similar turning of the wheel. There's a spring and a summer in the seasons of our soul, as well as the earthly ones. There's an autumn harvest and there's a death inherent in winter. What energy is concentrated and pulled within to seek out the darkness where it can rest, regenerate, and simply be until the time is right for new life, energy, and creative inspiration to burst forth. When diving for light, one must be willing to bear the darkness and understand that it has purpose, much like winter does upon the earth. Okay, I'm going to skip a little bit. I have another area that's actually highlighted. I've had this card before. I think when I first got this deck, there's a couple cards that I had pulled and highlighted, and this happens to be one. So I'm going to assume that was for a reason and go straight to it. We just need to hold compassion and be intelligently aware so we can avoid being seduced into the trap of needing to prove ourselves or into the mistaken belief that we need to fight against darkness. It's too easy to get caught up in trying to heal the dark. Darkness just is. Recognize it when it's there and be in your compassionate heart. All you need to do is make a choice. Will you stay in your heart or will you be seduced by darkness and overcome by hate or sleepiness? Diving for light. Let's see, is this the end? Okay. Diving for light is a spiritual test and a threshold for all true creative work. We successfully navigate our way through this test and pass the threshold into new creative birth by staying connected to the light of compassion in our own hearts. It is not an easy test, but it is one that you must be ready for. Otherwise, it wouldn't be coming to you now. Just remember, it is the light of the heart that sustains. It exists within us always, even in the darkest depths of the unknown terrain. This oracle also comes with a special message. There's a darkness within or around you that could become problematic if left unchecked. That's where I was, right? It was kind of getting unchecked and out of control this week where I was feeling a little oppressed. Not just this week, the last couple of weeks. If for no particular reason you find yourself feeling angry, irritated, that was me yesterday. I was irritated that my husband invited my granddaughter. But I knew I can't be mad at him. He was following his joy. I am mad at myself that I feel like I have to go along with his joy when I don't. But there was a belief there. Yeah, where we at? If you find yourself feeling angry, irritated, hopeless, or tired more easily than usual, unable to rest, or if it's just too much effort to exercise or take care of yourself, then this darkness is having an unnecessary effect on you. It's time to end that now from a place of compassion. The healing process. Okay, then it talks about this healing process below. I won't get into that detail. You can buy this book if you're interested. With every card, there is a healing process exercise that it invites you into. Okay, I love this. This was perfect for this channeling. Thank you, Spirit, for always being right where we need you. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a wonderful, blessed day. Peace out.